You wake up as the sun breaks over the Judean desert. No alarm, just the sound of morning prayers. But for the earliest Christians, this wasn't a normal history lesson. For 2,000 years, the reality of this city has been buried under stained glass. Are you ready to see what the dirt actually felt like under your feet? You open your eyes in a small, square room. The walls are made of rough, unhewn stone, packed with mud. You share this single, dark room with your entire extended family. Grandparents, parents, and children all sleep side by side on thin woven mats laid directly over the hard-packed earth. The air is thick, stale, and completely still. Can you smell the smoke? There are no chimneys here in the densely packed lower city. The morning fire burns in a small clay brazier out in the shared courtyard, filling the narrow, winding alleyways with a dense, woody haze. You step outside into the waking city, your sandals slapping against the uneven ground. Jerusalem in the 1st century is not the quiet, pristine sanctuary you see in old paintings. It is a loud, crowded, violently contested pressure cooker of human survival. The streets are incredibly narrow, deliberately built close together to provide shade. There are no sidewalks, only a central trench running with raw sewage, discarded vegetable stalks, and animal bones. You have to press your back against the rough limestone walls just to let a merchant's overburdened donkey pass by. Where is everyone rushing to so early in the day? To understand your daily life here, we have to look deep underground. In the 1970s, an archaeologist named Naaman Avigad uncovered something incredible. It is known today as the burnt house. Inside the ash and crushed rubble of this ancient home, Avigad found something entirely unique. Stone vessels. Not ordinary clay, but heavy, painstakingly carved limestone cups, bowls, and large storage jars. Why would anyone drag heavy stone into their kitchen instead of using cheap, lightweight clay? It all comes down to purity. In your 1st century world, ritual purity is not just a polite, spiritual idea. It is a harsh, uncompromising physical law. If a dead insect falls into a clay jar, the porous clay absorbs the impurity, rendering everything inside it contaminated. You cannot wash it. You have to take a hammer and physically smash the jar. But stone, according to the ancient rabbinic laws, cannot absorb impurity. So, if you are a faithful family trying to survive, your house is full of these heavy white stone jars. You leave your family's courtyard and walk toward the lower markets. The smell shifts dramatically. Tanneries. Leather workers are out in the open, soaking animal hides in large vats of human and animal urine. You pass the weavers, their rough hands dyed permanently blue from processing indigo. You pass the blacksmiths, their hammers ringing out rhythmically as they beat raw iron. How do you actually survive in this ruthless economy? You work with your hands, and you work until your body breaks down. The vast majority of the city lives at a terrifying subsistence level. You eat what you earn that very day, and if you cannot work, you do not eat. Your diet is relentlessly simple. Your main staple is barley bread, which is tough, gritty, and baked on hot stones. You dip this bread into lentils boiled into a thick, bland stew. Occasionally, to break the monotony, you flavor it with garum. Garum is a fermented fish sauce, pungent and aggressively salty, imported from the coast in small sealed clay amphorae. Meat is an absolute luxury. You might taste roasted lamb only once a year during the great citywide festival of Passover. Are you starting to feel the constant, low-level hunger? Because of this diet, and because of the dense crowds, sickness is everywhere. A simple cut on your foot can easily kill you. Blindness, skin diseases, and crippling bone deformities are common sights. This is why the healing pools of the city are so desperately crowded. Consider the Pool of Bethesda. For centuries, modern scholars thought the biblical description of a pool with 5 porticos was purely a metaphor. But in the late 19th century, an archaeologist named Conrad Schick dug beneath the rubble. In your time, this pool is lined with hundreds of desperate, sick people, waiting for the waters to stir. They have no hospitals, no antibiotics, no safety nets. They only have hope and the cold stone beneath them. But everything in your day, every street you walk, is overshadowed by one massive, looming presence: the Romans. You look up, and the Antonia fortress glares down at you. Roman soldiers do not mingle gently with the locals. They stand on the high parapets, heavily armed, their polished armor glinting, watching every single movement. It is an occupied territory. You pay taxes when you buy salt. You pay taxes when you sell wheat. You pay a toll just to cross certain bridges. The empire systematically extracts your wealth. How long can a proud people endure this kind of crushing psychological pressure? This unbearable tension is exactly why your faith is so intense. It is your ultimate survival mechanism, your identity, and your only defense against the empire. And the absolute center of that mechanism is the temple. As you walk up the wide, stepped street toward the Temple Mount, the sheer scale of it takes your breath away. The massive doors and facades were covered in thick plates of gold. When the morning sun hit the temple, it blinded you. The foundation stones used to build the retaining walls weigh hundreds of tons each, carved and moved by pure human labor. It is one of the largest, most ambitious engineering projects in the entire ancient world. Can you hear the deafening noise? The temple is not a quiet church where people whisper. It is a slaughterhouse, a national bank, and a political capital all rolled into one massive complex. The smell of roasting animal meat and thick, sweet burning incense is so heavy it literally coats the back of your throat. But before you can even approach the inner courts, you must prepare your physical body. You walk back down the stepped street to the southern edge of the city. Here, archaeologists Ronnie Reich and Eli Shukron recently uncovered a monumental site: the true Pool of Siloam. It is a mikveh, a ritual bath, specifically designed to wash away the impurity of the secular, dirty world before you dare approach the divine. You strip off your dusty, sweat-stained tunic. You walk down the cold stone steps into the dark, living water. You submerge yourself completely, letting the cold shock your system. When you come up out of the water, gasping for air, you are fundamentally changed. You are clean. You dress quickly and climb the massive southern steps to the temple gates. For you, as a first-century person, the temple is not just a large building where God is worshipped. It is the literal, physical intersection of heaven and earth. When you offer a sacrifice, you are not just saying a polite prayer. You are actively participating in the cosmic maintenance of the universe. The blood is swiftly dashed against the base of the massive bronze altar. The fat is thrown onto the coals, hissing and popping in the intense heat. The thick smoke rises straight up into the endless blue Judean sky. We modern people look back at this ancient, ritual-heavy, blood-soaked life, and we think it looks exhausting, primitive, or overly restrictive. We pride ourselves on our freedom. But this ancient, physical, demanding faith gave the people of Jerusalem something we completely lack today: certainty. Their faith was not an abstract concept hidden in their minds. It was not a podcast they listened to or a book they skimmed. It was something they could physically touch, smell, and taste every single day. It was the heavy, unyielding weight of the stone jar in their rough hands. When their world was falling apart under the crushing, terrifying weight of the Roman Empire, their faith was a tangible, physical anchor. It held them securely in place when everything else was burning. Look honestly at your own life today. Your world is sterile, perfectly climate-controlled, digital, and completely insulated from the raw, physical realities of survival. When the modern pressures of anxiety, isolation, and digital overload close in on you, those abstract ideas often evaporate into thin air. You have nothing heavy to hold on to. The first-century believers had dirt, blood, and stone. They did not just believe in their faith, they lived inside of it. The sun finally begins to set over the western hills, painting the rough limestone walls of the city in deep shades of gold, orange, and blood red. The shrill blast of the Roman trumpets sounds. The massive bronze doors of the temple are heaved shut. The daily sacrifices end, and the altar fires slowly die down to glowing embers. You walk back down the narrow, winding, darkening streets, past the silent tanneries and empty markets, returning to your small, dark room. You lie down on your thin, woven mat over the hard earth, exhausted to your very core. You wake up as the sun breaks over the Judean desert. Only now, the prayers aren't history. They are the very heartbeat of your faith.